This is a Necchi BU Mira from about 1953. Necchi started out making industrial machines, and machine has the kind of solidity and tough parts of an industrial machine. It was one of the first home machines to do zigzag. It came, I think, originally with a sample of things that it could do. And here are some of the decorative stitches. Of course, as I said, it can do zigzag. It can make buttonholes. Of course, you can use it to sew on buttons. And this is the darning. This is a darning foot. And here, look at this satin stitch, probably over a cord. Looks great on both sides. Some way of sewing on hooks and eyes. So this machine really can do a lot. And it comes with a great instructional booklet with all kinds of things that you can do and how to take care of the machine, identifying all the special parts and special feet that do different things. And this is for the model BU. Most of it applies to this machine, but this is a BU Mira, and it is threaded slightly differently. So to know how to thread it, you refer to this, and it has a good description. So I've already threaded this. It says when you're threading it, the top stitch, you use this spool stand and you go over this. You go through the tension slot, familiar to most people who sew. You pull the thread so that it ends up pulling on this spring rod. You get it to come up through this hole and through this, the take-up lever, and down through the same hole, and then back. It catches on something you can't even see. There's a thread guide, and then you thread it. Now this needle should be inserted so that you are going to thread it from left to right, which means that the flat side of the needle, of the machine needle, goes to the left. Most machines you can't thread wrong.
That side goes to the
right. Goes to the right. Most machines you can't thread wrong. This machine you can thread wrong. So when you you can insert the needle wrong, is what I mean, and then you'll insert the thread wrong. So inserting the thread left to right is correct. Front to back is wrong. Flat side of the needle goes in to the right, and you have a number of screwdrivers. So you loosen this, and the needle comes out, and you put a new needle in, flat side to the right. Thread it left to right. The bottom thread, of course, is on a bobbin. The machine came with some Necchi bobbins, and they're solid. The equivalent generic bobbin has these holes in it. This bobbin does not have the same weight as this bobbin, so it seems to me for the machine to operate at its best, it's best to use these bobbins. Bernina also makes bobbins like this. So I've already got a bobbin in there, and this plate, to access that, slides this way. I just lift it up a little because it makes it slide easier. By the way, this thing, if you have to change this, you'll see in the instructional manual why you might want to use one of these others. No need to mess with those screws. Don't make that mistake. It just slides right in. So the bobbin case looks like this. Most people may be familiar with this already. So the bobbin, you've got a diagonal slot there. You have to put the thread in so that the thread is going to get pulled back through that slot. I don't want to put it in so the thread's going the same direction of the slot. I put it in that way, and then I pull this thread back through the slot, and I pull it all the way through here to the point where it comes out here, not here, and then the bobbin has the right tension. when you pull out that, it locks the bobbin in. So now I can maneuver the bobbin around to get it situated in the bobbin case without it falling out. Now you could try to do it this way. I find it easier to reach under, whoop, and just set it on that, whatever you call it, and this finger-like thing goes up and fits in that slot. And you just let the bobbin thread hang down, and then you take your needle thread and hold it and turn this flywheel or wheel toward you, which you always turn it toward you. The top thread goes down and gets the bobbin thread for us. Didn't quite work this time, so we'll just well, it did work. Okay, there are my two threads. And I slide this closed, and I'm almost ready to stitch. If I want a straight stitch, I put this lever, whatever, where it is on 0. This is the stitch width gauge. It goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is the widest zigzag. I'm going to do straight stitching. If I wanted to do other, I would loosen this, and that enables me to move this indicator around. 2.5 might be a, good zigzag, but I'm doing straight, so it's back here. I hold this steady and tighten it up. I'm going to have the needle position in the center. It can also be to left or right. And the stitch length is indicated here. I don't know if the flashlight helps, but the length is from 0, where the thread is not advancing at all, to 4. That's the longest stitch. So I've got it at 2.5. If you wanted to change it, you would loosen this screw and put this wherever you want it. 2.5 is good and neutral. I'm going to tighten it up. And then I'm ready to sew. But to turn the machine on, the light has to be on. In fact, turning the light on turns the machine on, and the light switch is here. So the light's on, and it's not very much light, but the machine will go on. I also have a choice of speed, high or low. High means I can just vary the speed from slow to really fast, and low means it'll be at a constant low speed, which can be very useful for some projects and also for beginners. And this is, instead of a foot pedal, this machine has this knee control. That's the throttle that turns it on. So I lower the presser foot all the way. There is an intermediate stop here. I'm not sure what it's for. Don't stop there because you'll get confused. So all the way down or all the way up, hold the threads. I usually help this along by starting like that. You can see it's a lovely, even sound, even motion, even beautiful stitch. It's always good to stop unless you have a reason not to with this take-up lever here. And once you raise the presser foot, you can just pull it right out. It's a beautiful stitch. It's a beautiful machine. If you needed to adjust the tension, if the top or bottom thread were, usually you adjust the top thread. You adjust the tension here. And you may not see it, but here there's a little indicator that goes from 0 to 9. So you turn it clockwise, it goes farther, tighter. And usually just having it right about the middle is just fine. Oh, and of course it reverses. To reverse, you have your hand here, just go a little backward, a little forward. Sound, you can tell it's just a great machine. So I told you about inserting the needles, and I'll just make a remark about thread. Thread ages. This machine is old. It came with a lot of old thread. and you sort of take some old thread and wind it like that, and it breaks. See how easily that broke? You would never use that thread, except although, you know, for embroidery maybe, or I don't, decoration, but or basting. Actually, silk thread is very good for basting. It doesn't, the iron won't leave an impression if you baste and then press. So old thread, generally no. And use the same thread in the bobbin and the top thread, and fill the bobbin completely. At least that's the ideal. I'll show winding the bobbin in a minute. I want to mention these oil holes. These little things are all oil holes, and the manual tells you about them. It tells you about all the oiling points. Those are obviously places you do put oil, but under here there are places that the manual will tell you how to oil it. You'd probably let the machine rest like this. Be nice if you could turn it upside down, but you can't. This way you can get a good look at the bobbin housing, and if you get thread all messed up in there, the machine won't work, and you'll have to just look at the manual for how to take out this part and get the twisted up thread out of there. That doesn't happen too often. It's very heavy. So, how to wind a bobbin? I would just leave that like that. When I start again, I would just tie this together like in an overhand knot and pull it through rather than threading the machine again, but either way. So they say to use this one for winding the bobbin, and to put it right through here, and then right through here, and then get it started on a bobbin. You could just wind it around. I always put it through this little hole. And hold it and wind it around a few times. Slide it on here as far as it'll go, and press this so that this little wheel goes against the turning wheel, and then I want to disconnect the up and down action of the needle, because I want the bobbin to wind without the needle going up and down, up and down, up and down. So I do this. It's a clutch. You turn this one this way, hold this one, turn this one this way. And now when I turn this turns, but the needle doesn't go up and down. Let's see how it goes. Well, I started it the wrong way, but I think it'll, there it goes. And it'll go back side to side and wind the bobbin nice and evenly. Don't do it too fast. You might sort of wind it too tight, just in sort of medium speed. And when it's all full, or sometimes you don't need that much, you have a full bobbin. So this machine also came with, what was it called? The Magic something? It's called the Magic something. And it has cams. This is a cam, but it also has these other cams. And you look at the instructions and figure out how this works. And of course you would have to get that replaced by one of these that hasn't disintegrated. And you'll see, this is what it screws onto, and then you'll read the instructions and you'll find out how to use it. And what it does is decorative stitches. There are ways in which this machine does decorative stitches kind of by hand. You just move these things around and you can get some of these decorative stitches. But these would be like flawless and perfect and easy, I guess. We haven't actually researched this. Well, we haven't fixed this, so we haven't been able to test it. So that is the fabulous Necchi BU Mira, made in Italy in the 1950s. It's fabulous.